So, it's time for Eeltail Alley. Don't play it. Stage is bad. Thumbs down. Okay, let's talk about it. My opinion, I know this isn't about my thoughts on the stages. I think this is the worst stage in the game. I don't even think it's particularly close. But I wanna talk a little bit about why I think the stage is so tough. So let's start with the obvious. I think it's pretty clear. Not a big fan of one-way drops. So, how many do we got here? We got this one out of spawn. All right, little standard. I love how this drop is on glass, just to be extra bad. There's more fake retreat route glass over here. Here's another one-way drop that used to not be a one-way drop and isn't in Rainmaker. So, and we got one up here, like, of course. So there's a bunch of that. That's not fun. And that's not even the biggest problem with the map. That is the bridge. A bridge and the choke. Now, the bridge is probably one of the most broken positions Splatoon has ever had. This is basically almost impossible to contest from anything that is in long range. It's extremely limited. And the other factor is that everyone, to get behind the other team, must funnel through this choke. From here, it separates into this route, and you can, go all the way back here. From there, it separates. But everyone must go through here. This position that this player can see. If you want to push in, you have to go through there. And then try to flank the bridge. Now, you can drop off the bridge in many different ways, but, already know what I'm going here, right? These are all one-way drops. So it's not really a great place to drop off the bridge. The middle of the map has actually RA cover because of these sides, but these are mostly unpaintable walls that just aren't fun to move on in any way. And then you have the signs they put in to make the bridge less broken. Now, I think what's a bigger problem than all of that is Mansa. I don't know why I went back to Mansa. The bigger problem, in my opinion, is that this bridge position is too strong on lockout. So this stage, it reminds me a little bit of Sheldendorf, but a lot worse, is very neutral heavy, when both teams will have the bridge, and they'll fight, and eventually you'll have to try to force the other team out enough to go all the way behind, take the bridge, and lock out forever, because there's Mansa again. When you lock out on this bridge, it is incredibly difficult to deal with it. Specials like Crab or Bubble or Chargers are really good here, and then on top of that, you could just have your aggros push so easily. They can sit under here, they can sit under here, and you can just jump back to the bridge to regroup. And if they're on the bridge, they can literally walk back here or walk into the corner. They have so much room to move as attackers. So it creates a map that's just it feels like it's incredibly difficult to get through mid, then you go through one route, and you have the worst lockout in the game. All of that combined, along with such a terrible spawn region, is why I think the stage is the worst to play on. So, how do you deal with a stage this awful? You have to play kind of safe or very risky. You can't really do one or the other. You're either committing to using QR weapons to take these drops, find kills, and rush and get your bridge back, or you are playing for heavy specials to clear bridge, then pick fights with the people down here and push forward. Similarly, in the middle of the map, same deal. You either constantly try and get someone behind them, or you're going to play specials, use them to clear bridge, and take fights. So that is basically almost all there is to it with this map. There really isn't a whole lot. I would say that this route is generally going to be easier to move on. You have much better access to the bridge. There's a bit more ledges to camp under, and it's a lot less predictable than this wall here, where you have to deal with a lot of space that the people holding bridge can attack from. So typically, it's a little bit better, but it might just depend on the situation. If you're an attacking team, absolutely hold the bridge, but make sure your aggros are pushing ahead. If you ever steamroll enough to get through here and take this area of the map, you basically just win the game. It's practically impossible to lose from that position. This is a stage that's very long-range favored, very long-range special favored. Things like Crab, Zook are especially important for clearing bridge. And I think another thing worth noting is Eeltail has what might be the largest zone in the game, and if it's not the largest, it's certainly the most difficult to capture control over, because there isn't really, if you have a map like Scorch, if we go back to Scorch, and I haven't talked about Scorch yet, right? While it is hard to get the zone, it's less difficult to get a foothold on one side of the map. That'll at least contest the zone, and from there you can have a longer team fight. The problem with Eeltail is there's not really anywhere to stall from. It's all or nothing on this map. Like, fights can drag out down here, but there's no sense of stability. At the end of the day, the people up here are probably safe, and the people down there are eventually going to die. There's not really a clear position to take, and that's probably the thing I dislike most about the stage. It just feels very linear in how it's played. There's not really a whole lot I can go over in a guide like this, because the stage doesn't really have a whole lot of creative options. There's no set of weapons that are particularly good here. There's not really any set of unique strategies. It's just understanding the powerful bridge position, the one-way drops out of spawn, and how you're going to force through this choke. As long as you have a good understanding of those three concepts, there's not really a whole lot to talk about when it comes to the stage, other than, like, what might favor it a little bit with things like range. So for the most part, I really am not a fan of this map. I'm gonna walk through how to play it because, you know, that's the series, but this is one of those stages where I really just don't have too much to say, and most of the advice I can give is very simple or things you can find on other stages. What I will say is that when you are dealing with a stage like this that's very linear, everyone should have a good understanding of how to play the map when you come down to it, and don't try and, I don't think it's worth trying to get around it from any other option. Take the head-on approach if we're going with that old Avatar meme about the maps. You gotta face this choke point head-on. You gotta deal with the bridge head-on. You gotta have powerful stuff to deal with it, or QR stuff to go around it, and commit to it. You can't really work around it any other way. So, that's my thoughts for Eeltail. This one's going to be a bit different. This is really the only stage that is like this. Even the other second weakest stage in the game, Sturgeon, to me, will still have a bit more important notes on weapons and stuff. But here is really the stage I have the least to say about. I'm really trying to think if there's anything I can add to this map to try and give a little bit more to this guide, because I feel like it's a little bit short with what I'm saying. But for the most part, there really isn't too much I could say. I guess I could talk about the middle of the map a little bit more and, like, try and get control of the sides a little bit. Pinning people down here can be pretty common if you're dealing with defenders. And this ledge and route over here is a lot lower to the ground, so you're more likely to find picks or pressure people off the bridge if you can get down there. That corner can be very useful. But I think that's really all I got, so sorry if this ended up being a little bit more opinionated about my thoughts on the map than anything else, but had to get that out there. That's my thoughts on Eeltail, and this is the last pre-recorded one, so I'll finally get to the comments on the last few ones to pick a stage for the next time, so we'll get to that then. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it.